Welcome to NASM CPT exam prep. This is Chapter 1 of 20, Basic and Applied Sciences and Nutritional Concepts. Today's lesson is the scientific rationale for integrated training. We're going to cover what integrated training actually means, the kinetic chain, the SAID principle, and the General Adaptation Syndrome. Think of this lesson as the philosophy underneath everything else in this course. Once you understand these four ideas, almost everything in later lessons will make a lot more sense. By the end of this lesson, you'll be able to do four things. First, explain what integrated training means and why NASM trains fitness components together rather than separately. Second, describe the kinetic chain as a linked system. Third, apply the SAID principle to predict training outcomes. And fourth, explain the 3 stages of the General Adaptation Syndrome. Keep these 4 in mind as we go. They're the backbone of this entire lesson. Let's start with the philosophy. Older training models isolated components, a cardio day, a flex day, a separate core workout. Fitness components treated like independent boxes to check off. NASM takes a different approach. Flexibility, core, balance, strength, and cardio are all trained together. Why? Because that's how the body is actually used outside the gym. Nobody stabilizes their core separately from moving their limbs. Nobody builds strength without cardiovascular demand happening alongside it. Nobody moves in isolation. And that's really the reframe for this entire domain, for arguably the entire course. Every lesson from here forward is going to demonstrate this integrated philosophy in some way. Now let's talk about the kinetic chain. The muscular, skeletal, and nervous systems don't operate as independent parts. They combine and work together as one linked system. This is the same idea behind the 5 checkpoints you'll encounter later in Lesson 6. Here's a simple example. A compensation at the ankle can show up as a problem at the knee, or even all the way up at the shoulder, because everything in the chain is connected. And this is exactly why NASM scans 5 separate checkpoints during any single assessment. One region's issue often surfaces somewhere else entirely. This next idea is foundational, the SAID principle. Specific adaptation to impose demand. In plain terms, the body adapts specifically to whatever demand you place on it. Let's look at 3 examples. Slow and heavy training produces maximal strength. That's phase 4 of the OPT model, which you'll see in Lesson 14. Fast and light training produces speed, power, and rate of force production. That maps to phase 5 in Lesson 14, and the SAQ work in Lesson 12. And high reps with short rest periods produce muscular endurance. That's phase 1 of the OPT model. Here's the bigger picture. Every acute variable decision in Lesson 13 and every OPT phase in Lesson 14 is really just an application of SAD. If you've already been through program design, this should land as a bit of an, oh, that's why moment. Let's look at how the body actually handles stress. This is the General Adaptation Syndrome, or GAS, and it has 3 stages. Stage 1, the alarm reaction. This is the body's initial response to a new stressor. You'll typically see some initial performance dip and some fatigue. Stage 2, resistance, or adaptation. With adequate recovery, the body adapts to handle that stressor better. This is where fitness gains actually happen. And stage 3, exhaustion. If stress consistently outpaces recovery, adaptation fails and overtraining sets in. GAS is the theoretical foundation behind 2 important ideas: why progressive overload works and why recovery isn't optional. One thing worth repeating, the training session itself is just the stressor. The actual adaptation happens during recovery, not during the workout. Here's an important caveat. This is not one size fits all. Not every client moves through the GAS stages at the same rate. Training age, sleep, stress, and nutrition all affect how quickly someone adapts. And that's exactly why program design, which you'll cover in lessons 13 and 14, starts with assessment, not a one-size-fits-all template. Individual differences aren't just a theoretical nicety. They're the practical reason assessment matters in the first place. Let's check your understanding. Question: what does the SAID principle state? Take a moment to think it through. The correct answer is, the body adapts specifically to the type of demand placed on it. Here's why. SAID stands for Specific Adaptation to Imposed Demand. It states that the body adapts specifically to whatever type of demand is placed on it. One more question. During which gas stage does actual fitness adaptation occur? Pause and think back to what we just covered. The correct answer is resistance, also known as the adaptation stage. Here's why. With adequate recovery, the resistance stage is where the body adapts to handle the stressor better over time. Let's bring it all together. Integrated training trains flexibility, core, balance, strength, and cardio together, matching how the body actually moves in the real world. The kinetic chain is the muscular, skeletal, and nervous systems working as one linked system. The SAID principle: the body adapts specifically to the demand placed on it. Gas has 3 stages: alarm, resistance, where adaptation happens, and exhaustion, or overtraining. And individual differences mean assessment always comes before program design. Here's the big picture to hold on to. This lesson is the philosophical foundation for the entire course. Everything from lesson 6 onward is really an application of integrated training, the kinetic chain, SAID, and gas. Great work getting through lesson 1. Next up is lesson 2, basic exercise science. We'll cover the nervous system's role in movement and the different types of muscle actions. See you there.